Hello, young Darren.
Oh, Natasha.
Yes, sir. Hello. Hi, guys. Thanks for bringing these. I appreciate the gesture. You want to tell me about them, maybe?
Oh, well. These are some peculiar flutes that I'm supposed to play at a benefit later on tonight. And I came by them once when I was a teenager in the train station in Vienna. And I saw a gypsy kid, a Roma young man, a fine young man, playing this while his compatriot performed a pickpocketing maneuver on the transfixed audience. And I went up to them and I said, I have never seen this instrument. And I'm an instrument fanatic. And this is an instrument that is unknown to the musicology world and has no name. If there was only one of them, it would have a name. But when there are two together, it's a new thing in the world. And I really love it. I'll play it.
I would appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Please be aware of your personal items.
Okay, I'm holding my vape tight.
Yeah. You really want to watch out for the vape fight.
Yeah.
I sometimes call it the walrus.
That's a good time, Darren.
I love that there are things in the world that haven't been named or classified.
Yeah, so that it has no name?
To my I mean, at the time,
The walrus.
Maybe by now, I've been playing this for 30 years. There might be an exhibit at the Met Instrument Collection with a name. I don't know. Maybe there's been.
By the way, this is my flute. Yeah, no, it's all instruments. At the end of the day, I'm just a mouth blowing nothing. And it's helpful for pickpocketing is something that we've learned, which is great.
Well, and relevant to the entertainment industry.
Yes.
Let us be clear.
Okay.
So, we should dazzle.
Well, tonight we're here, and hi guys. Are you guys in the film world? Is that what brings you to Tribeca? Hi.
Yeah.
And so you have all kinds of thoughts and fears and concerns about our future, I bet, as a community. We've been hearing a lot about those. And yeah. What is the future, Darren? You wrote a book. Who owns the future? Who does own it?
Yeah, well, for the moment, the closer you are to one of the biggest computers in the world, the more you own the future. So I'm doing great.
Yeah.
The rest of you, I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
God bless you. Grateful to know you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the future has changed over the years, you know? The future wasn't really a thing for a while, and then it was like we started on this feeling of being on a ramp in the world with the Enlightenment and ideologies like Marxism and technological progress and capitalism and all of these things were all on this ramp going up. And I feel like there was this feeling it was going up maybe into outer space, but what I detect, especially in young people lately, is that we lost the future. And it's not quite there anymore, or it feels like one that's maybe not for people, or not for most people. there's a kind of a blankness in the way young people I talk to are talking about the future, and it breaks my heart. It does, you know?
Yeah. Well, as a middle-aged person, I guess there's, I have a little bit of optimism.
See, I think of you
about
as
it.
a young person.
Thank you. And that is why I like to hang out with, flute players primarily, and pickpockets, incidentally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think maybe it's also because it breaks my heart, Darren, and so I'm trying to hold a little space, and maybe that's something we have in common as pals. Is this vision that's a fully dystopian nightmare is too heavy a load to carry, and it seems like, gosh, it would be great if it did not turn out that way. Yeah, that's my thought. I mean, often I think about like Prince, singing like "Tonight We're Gonna Party Like It's 1999." And that's as far as he could imagine, or Kubrick could only imagine. 2001, right? It's a space odyssey. And we're in 2024. How did that happen? Of course shit's weird, is my full thesis there.
Well, I usually, when characters are put into a maze of weird dystopian darkness, they don't quite emerge from it, except for yours. You never lose yourself, or your characters don't lose themselves. And I think that is amazing. You articulate not losing yourself in all the weirdness.
Thanks for that. Yeah, you told me something like that the other night. I don't know. Playing the dark with
I love making you speechless. It's
yeah.
like my favorite
Oh,
thing to do.
likewise. No, it's hard for me to take a compliment.
I know. I don't know
but,
why, but
I guess I am always sort of curious about the contents of the soul, or like what makes one person. Obviously, I got lost in this whole deep dive in my years of Russian Doll, and that's how I fell into kind of Hofstadter and A Strange Loop and Ted Chiang, and found out about you, or I went on that journey. And of course, back of that journey is a sort of a rock bottom that leads to a dark night of the soul that goes on for about a decade, at the end of which they say, find yourself a higher power, which for me really ended up opening this world of sort of science and things I did not understand that were just clearly much greater than anything I could conceive of, that sort of right-sized me in the scope of the world. So in an effort to move away from ego, which is still a terrible problem for me, as much as any other guy. But along that sort of walkabout, I think my curiosity became just that, of like, what is the content of what makes a person, what makes me, or you, and in the most dystopian future scenario, where would sort of a consciousness live in a person? Do you have any sense on how that's going to play out, Darren?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, for some reason, one of the gifts given to us in this reality is quite a bit of latitude on how we interpret it. So, if you want to believe that an artificial intelligence is alive, you have the freedom to. If you want to believe that a fetus is alive, so you could control the mother's body the fetus is in, you have the latitude to have that belief, apparently. There's a lot of, this was the circle of empathy is this thing I used to talk about decades ago, and became.
What's that?
Well, I used to have this idea of a circle of empathy, which is the circle that you draw around yourself, and everything inside it is the stuff you believe is kind of really alive or really conscious that you can have empathy for, and everything on the outside of it you don't. So on the inside is like people, and on the outside is like rocks. And then there's this fuzzy border where things can be tricky. Conservatives want to make the circle smaller, liberals want to make the circle bigger.
Geologists unified in the theory of this entirely.
Yeah, geologists get real kinky with this idea. And then if you make the circle too big, you can get incompetent. If you make it too small, you can get too cruel. But there's always this ambiguity. There's always this fuzziness. So I don't think there's any absolute way to prove that other people are real, that consciousness is real. There's no way to prove you have it. Very much like in an earlier time, people were more worried about whether God existed, perhaps, and then just decided it's a matter of faith. We have to do that with each other. We have to decide that each other exists through faith. That's a modern version of Kant for those of you who are trying to forget your college days. Sorry. And then, in virtual reality, there's a very interesting, in my view, demonstration of consciousness, but there's no guarantee that everyone else will take it the way I do. In virtual reality, you can make very, very strange experiences. You can turn into different animals and things because your brain is adapted to control the animals that you evolved through to get the human form, and it's pre-adapted for the ones you might evolve into. So you can turn into all kinds of crazy animals and still kind of feel that body. It's a wonderful thing. You can split up your body into pieces and feel a diffuseness. You can change the flow of time. You can kind of blend your sense of body with others. All like very radical experiments are possible. Not easily. Doing virtual reality well is actually hard work, absolutely as hard as any other craft. But through all the weirdness, there's this little nub that continues. Like you're in one weird thing, you're in another weird thing. You were a gazelle, now you're an octopus. Now all this stuff. But what's that little thing that continues? Well, that's your consciousness. So with the AI concept of computers, we help people ignore consciousness. With the VR concept, at least in my experience, we help you notice consciousness. So I think of it as a consciousness noticing machine. Now, whether you want to believe, you can still believe consciousness isn't really a thing, or it's like any information system has it, or it's rocks have, like there's people who believe that the rocks have a little bit of it or whatever. There's ultimately a pragmatic thing, which is that you can't be a technologist without knowing who the beneficiary is, who you're designing for. You can't have empathy without the empathy being for someone. You have to fill in all the parts of the sentence to do something. And consciousness is the only way I know to identify the beneficiary of being a human. It's the only way I know how to benefit others is to believe in them as being real.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. I was thinking about that last night. It's like everybody is so real, like sort of a person I work with, a person that works for them, their husband recently passed away suddenly, you know what I mean? And it's like, you have no idea what's going on behind the world of like the person that you're connected to, third party, like that there's so much, just real life connected to every moment and interaction that we have. In this one, on the relative plane, there's so much kind of backstory happening at all times. And sometimes in these, in many ways, when you're, what are 10 arguments to delete your social media accounts? I did not, Jaren, spoiler alert. I tripled down. But we have sort of arrived at a new moment where we've almost become lost in the sauce, so nuance is lost in that sort of current of humanity, or remembering just how real we all are is really what seems to end up lost, and just sort of ideas move very quickly and radically and binary in a way that sort of like, I don't know, maybe that's I don't know, it's ones and zeros, I don't know, but it's challenging because these are quite complex times that really demand nuance, it seems, and certainly one of my fears, and I think probably everyone's around AI to a certain degree is, we talk a lot about how everyone has suddenly anthropomorphized artificial intelligence, and that's dangerous, but that it's potentially a concept purposefully introduced by Silicon Valley or Hollywood or whatever in an effort to kind of properly terrify us, such that the stakes keep rising, and then you can watch on social media the tide change as they sort of soften us to the idea again, and things like that. Did you have some sort of take? I know that's not really a question, but I'm sure you have some sense of a thread of an answer.
Yeah. Well, let me say a couple of things in response to what you just said. One is that computer science, as it was for the first 80 or 90 years or something, was all ones and zeros. And lately it's become more statistical, where the ones and zeros are really buried so far down that they don't matter anymore. And I'm hoping, so when you start with ones and zeros as your foundation, it tends to reproduce itself, 1 0 1 0, and you tend to have all these binary things that are often pretty false, percolating up through your experience. One way that happened, I think, and it's funny, I was right there. I sold, I think, Google its first acquisition company, an AI company a long time ago, and I was around when they were starting, but even the people directly doing it sometimes don't quite know what's happening. I shouldn't tell you, but that kind of remains true these days for the tech companies. We're not totally sure what's going on, but what I think happened is the algorithms, well, first of all, there was this idea, we're both leftist and we're capitalist at the same time. That's a contradiction. How will we fix that? Well, it'll feel free and communitarian and socialist to you. Share, open culture, open source, it's great. But, we'll also gather all the information, and then we'll make money from people who want to influence all of you who are sharing. So we'll have capitalism on this side, but an experience of something that's more like socialism. Is that a contradiction? Just don't talk about it, don't think about it, don't think about it. And then, but the thing is, in order to get that, then the algorithms are incentivized, not the people, but the algorithms kind of gradually turn into attention collectors, and the way you collect attention, it just happens that people evolved these different cognitive systems, and the one that's most readily addressable in a feedback loop is the fight or flight, quick twitchy stuff, which is all negative. It's all about fear and aggression, and it's all fighting and killing, and eat that thing, try not to get eaten by that thing, and don't trust people. And so they found their way into getting people kind of paranoid and self-obsessed and twitchy and nervous, and which is the experience of social media, and has made a number of our friends crazy, who we don't need to name, but one of them has the first letter E in his first name.
Well,
and
I would argue one of them has a first letter N and the last letter L.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just, they're rampant, these degenerates.
It happened to a certain presidential candidate.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about him. And,
no, but I guess next you're headed to Kanye, aren't you?
I could discuss that, but
yes.
Let us not dwell there. What I want to say is that that this paranoid thing does tend to break the world into binaries, where everybody has to get tribal about every damn thing and be opposed to. It's become, this is what everybody knows about social media, but there's this interesting thing. Like I was saying, the AI is. It's not really artificial intelligence, that's just a marketing thing, but what it does represent is making code much more statistical, and that interests me because in science, as opposed to computer science, that the fuzzy thing, the thing that's statistical is the most real thing. right? The building that bends a little bit is the one that won't fall over in the earthquake, which is more, if we were in California, that would have more meaning for you than here. But
These people, they don't know, these fucking New Yorkers.
I know.
You know what I mean? Walking around, streets never shaking.
New Yorkers are used to such a soft life, they don't get it.
They don't fucking get it, not like LA. LA is fucking hard.
I mean, yeah, they just don't know, but I mean, great bagels at every corner.
Yeah,
Like,
true,
what
true.
can I tell
True,
you
pizza
people?
slice.
But so the thing that bends instead of breaking is the real thing. And so in quantum mechanics, we never get a perfect measurement, and yet that's where reality is. In engineering, it's all statistical. Science is all statistical. And this notion of you were talking, so the reason I'm getting to this is you were talking about science as a higher power to get out of the traps of being
Yes, sir.
caught in the rigid thing. And I actually think there's something to that. I think that could actually work out. Like, I don't know how, because the world just seems like it's stupider every year, but if somehow people can get keyed into the way we actually can know reality and do anything, they might be able to overcome the artificial binaries that social media has kind of, excited them into.
Which none of us are immune from, and
no.
I do think that it is. It's because there's something empirical, there's something very healthy about knowing how much we do not know. So like you say, the sort of shady statistical prospect of the building that bends, or whatever this is, a quantum thing, like the Carlo Rovelli, the order of time, why can I remember my past but I can't remember my future? The fact that that's real science is oddly a healthier tether than many other things, because it sort of stops you in your tracks. Sometimes I'm even reminded of, like, as a teenager, I think, looking at the New York Times being like, why is it called Arts and Sciences, and it's sort of something about the music of the spheres that I could never quite touch, but that did feel in some way like that was a healthier place to put this idea of something greater than myself that I do not understand. You've talked a lot to me about the idea of incremental experiments versus sort of swaths of ego and delusions of grandeur, and how that's sort of a problem presently in Silicon Valley and Hollywood both, that is sort of damaging this kind of more human connectedness, or this little nub of self that moves from octopus to gazelle and so on.
It's very cute how Hollywood people think they have egos. They have no idea. We from Silicon Valley look down upon Hollywood and we think, what a humble, well-adjusted batch you are. Very curious. Yeah. It's like Hollywood is like a little well-groomed petting zoo for our delectation.
Shush.
We'll stream you
Harold.
guys, give you ever less money every year. Just be nice. You look cute.
Doug, the horror.
Sorry, I just try to tell the truth, that's all.
Likewise, sir. And so what are they up to over there?
Carlo Rovelli and my best friend Lee Smolin co-created quantum gravity, the thing that's kind of taking over after string theory sort of petered itself out. And they have a wonderful disagreement about time right now. So Lee thinks the present moment is a real physical thing, that what's going on here, in order for this moment to be different from past moments, is like there's this calculation going on where the present moment is calculating itself. And it's a wonderful, the math behind it is so splendid, it's so great. Carlo doesn't. Carlo thinks, but here's the thing, if you believe Carlo and you think that all the moments are kind of the same, which a lot of people have thought, Einstein's concept, all the moments are the same, past and future, then what makes the present moment the present moment? So there's only two answers, but they both boil down to the same thing, which is, this is the one we're conscious of, so there's consciousness again. Like, you try to get rid of consciousness, you can bang it, you can try, like whack-a-mole, you can try to get rid of it, it'll pop up again. Very hard to really get rid of consciousness.
And I guess that's been said before too, that artificial intelligence is not artificial consciousness, and lest we mistake one for the other, because they're quite different.
If you're ever in Silicon Valley raising money for some movie or something, don't say that.
Oh, sorry. I'll get ahead of that thing.
That'll get you into a religious fight. Like, just
Yeah.
don't say that thing you just said.
And why?
What?
Why?
Well, because there's this thing called, there's this emergent tech culture, tech religion that really, really, really wants to believe we're building these new super consciousnesses. Mm-hmm. It's okay, it's all right.
I saw my flute.
Vape away. It's the weirdest thing, like, people just really, really want to believe in it, and I've been trying to understand why for years. Because my main mentor when I was a kid was one of the first people to really believe this deeply. His name was Marvin Minsky. And like, who cares? Like, what is the big deal about thinking that your machine is conscious? Like, why is it such a thing for you?
Well, I guess it's probably a fear, right? Like, in other words, if we're naming sort of like our three basic instincts is, I think they're actually sex, society, and security, I've been told. But, to your point of sort of fight or flight, or kind of, it's really, yeah, so like, that our instincts are kind of to mate or something, procreate, and society, like we want people to like us, or security is like, a roof over your head or something, safety. But anyway, I think it's ultimately about mortality, right? Like everything is about mortality at the end of the day. And, on some level, what's interesting to me, I guess, about the future is how insignificant of a timeline human beings are relative to the rest of eras. Like, do we even qualify as an era? No, right?
I mean, we have a shot at some form of being around for a long time. We don't know yet. I think mortality that's one theory I've always been interested in, that maybe this idea that we can make the big computer that gets conscious is our way of being. That's a lot of my friends want to be uploaded into it and become immortal in it. That's definitely one of the things. And
and I'm not fully opposed. I might be in that camp, but TBD. That's why I'm so curious about where the consciousness goes. Like, does it travel? I've made a lot of jokes over the years about being like a brain in a jar, and that would be my ideal state, and unload this thing. Since reading Welcome to the Monkey House, Kurt Vonnegut as a kid, I was obsessed with that idea of like, get rid of this is nothing but a bunch of problems. Like, so either kind of upgrade these organs, or like lose the whole thing and just carry. But does the soul live in the brain, and sort of brings us back there? But I'm not fully opposed to the idea of uploading, except for the fact that what then is our sort of tangible reality, and then does anything have meaning at all?
Right. Well, let me propose a couple of thoughts about that.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, because I'm about to do it like tomorrow, so thanks for getting ahead of it.
I can introduce you to Silicon Valley rich, crazy people who will, put your brain in a vat.
I'd be so grateful, Jaron. It's in my living will, but I really don't have a plan.
Yeah. When you meet them, you might change your mind, though.
Yeah.
So
I like that it's eerie out there, huh?
Yeah.
It sounds eerie.
So look, there's a couple of things I want to say. One is that you can't explore this idea without considering the political and economic side of it. So when people talk about AI in the abstract, they always imagine it as just this sort of ambient thing that's happening. It's like yeast in the air, and there's an AI here and an AI there. But that's not true. AIs are always owned by companies. They're big computers. They're specific ones. So like in the movie Her, you never meet the company. There's like some company that supports this AI, but like, what's their motivation? What's their business model? Why is this thing happening? We never learned that. Which is different from the Truman Show, where we do, right? And so with AI, there's this extra layer, this extra sort of eyelid over our eyes that hides the company, because there's this fantasy that it's a freestanding thing, but it isn't. So the thing is, as soon as you believe an AI might be worthy of being uploaded into, you're also giving extraordinary economic and political power to whoever owns that. And if you wish to do that, do it with the Microsoft one, because then I get more money and I can buy more weird instruments, which is really, really, really important. But, so make the right choice. But, there's another thing I want to say, which is, there's an artificial binary between believing you have to either be very conservative about human nature and presume that if there's a person in 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years, if we make it, they'll look like us today. And, or maybe they'll have like some weird rubber mask like on Star Trek or something, but they'll be basically sort of humanoid and recognizable. And then the alternative that, no, it's all inconceivable. We're going to go through a singularity and everything will become unknowable because it's so advanced.
That's interesting that you bring up the singularity, because my old buddy, Ray Kurzweil, is not my friend. I don't know the guy, but I thought that he was sort of perceived as a hack historically. But is he the guy that introduced the concept of singularity? Because also,
No,
I guess the whole movie, Transcendental
the
Man or whatever,
yeah.
falls apart because then he wants to Frankenstein his dad at the end. So it seems like a.
Right.
But what you know?
Yeah,
Do you believe in the singularity or?
The singularity was first proposed by John von Neumann, one of the two.
Oh, von
inventors of
Neumann, a
computing.
Hungarian.
A Hungarian.
Yeah.
Yeah. From apparent, very brilliant, incredibly productive mathematician, like just crazy. But anyway, the thing is, there is a middle path. So the singularity is this idea that the AI will suddenly get smart enough to design itself and it'll just explode, and then all of reality will be transformed. It'll make nano robots that'll transform the earth, and everything will become totally different, and we won't recognize it, and we can't even talk about it. It's some new transcendent holy thing. But the thing is, from an information science point of view, if you pass through a singularity or even a near singularity, what doesn't make it through is much information. Like the amount of information that you can send into a black hole and get out is very minimal.
Oh, right, we were talking about this the other night, the
Yeah.
teleporting and sort of like what structures on the other
Well,
side.
if there's a wormhole, maybe you can preserve information. That depends on what physics is. Let's not get it. We don't.
Yeah, we don't
that-
have
that's
time for that,
beyond our
guys. We don't
ability.
have time for that, all right? I know you thought we had time for that, but we just don't.
Yeah, but singularities lose information, and so if everything I know and love about reality is based on cumulative incremental feedback and learning. So we've learned more over time. We've become more. Things have become richer. I meet these hoodlums and learn to play the instrument they were using as a scheme, and everything incrementally improves. But the singularity breaks all that. So there's an in-between path where people don't have to stay the same, where you don't have to stay a traditional person arbitrarily into the future, but at the same time, everything's continuous, so there's continuous learning and information isn't lost along the way. That middle path is the one where people might still be around in 1,000,000 years or 1,000,000,000 years, but will be unrecognizable to us, and yet will have had a continuity of memory and learning and growing back to us instead of a total break. That's a possible future. I like that future better than either the one that imagines people will be the same forever or the one that imagines that it can't be imagined. Instead, continuity, in principle, can go on forever. There's no reason not to. The universe is like that. The universe has been continuous all this time. If
It's
we break
beautiful,
that,
Darren.
if we break
It's very
that,
exciting.
if we break that with an artificial singularity, we're insulting our universe. Fuck that.
Yeah, I sort of feel like plotting on the inside for that, because that's very promising,
Yeah.
right? So God doesn't roll dice type of an idea. Not that I'm a God guy. I want to make that clear. I'm a full, Satanist, full time. But it's interesting. Yeah, it's so wild. Scientists seem to love the concept of some sort of order that makes sense of things. I always think that's so wild because you'd think it'd be the inverse. Well, how much time do we have? Does anybody have a sense of that? All this talk of time, it's become mercurial. About 15? I guess it might be, I would love for you to share with these guys some things that we've talked about as far as so interesting about Taiwan, maybe, because I think for us in the arts, what's so harrowing is a concept of copyright, and then on the other side, what I've spoken to you about historically is this idea of, skin in the game, or, there's blood on the page, every page Dostoevsky writes, or for any of us as, writers or filmmakers, we know that it's back of anything you make is like there's bodies are piled up. It's like your personal life, cigarettes, like my lungs are dead. It's what I've done, you know what I mean? Relationships destroyed, marriages broken, and then it's like the thing doesn't even get made or something. And so I often think about, like, is there a possibility of sort of like life extension for the artist, of that you have the ability to make more things, or is it ultimately just a way of completely shutting down and robbing us of our previous work, and I think that's one of the primary things that as relates to filmmaking or the arts is so specifically kind of harrowing for all of us, is trying to square that circle with the fact that we all have these cell phones, or the new Adobe edit suite that's AI already, as a low budget filmmaker who doesn't want to extend that shot. You never made it at the end of the night. There's sort of all these weird ways in which it's embedded in our tech already, and then there's this kind of B side of like, what happens to everyone as craftsmen? What happens to our work? Do you have any sense of that, even though it's not necessarily your area of speciality?
Yeah.
Or is it?
I mean, sort of, I guess. I mean,
you more than me, that's for sure, sir. Yeah.
Going back when the internet was starting up, there was a strong aspect of technical culture. And technical culture is incredibly influential. It can defy the profit motive even. It's one of the most influential things in the world, and yet it's kind of under-recognized. So there was this idea of everything being open and sharing, which was started, I have a personal history with this, but it's like too long, I guess. I won't go into that. I used to, for those of you who know who Richard Stallman is, we used to, crazy times back in the early 80s. But anyway, I think we've kind of zigged and zagged between two extremes. So what happened with some arts, not all, is that coming out of the Great Depression, the labor union movement was strong, and certain creative professions were able to get reasonable deals in our culture, and that included actors, SAG that striked recently, in part over AI.
John Updike, right? The Hunger, the Jungle. The Jungle.
Right.
That was a big one.
And musicians got mechanicals,
yeah.
Which were so there's no such thing as information that isn't mechanical. Like, there's no information that isn't embodied, and yet we've decided digital information isn't a mechanical, which is scientifically nonsense, but whatever. We want to believe in information in a certain way. It's our religion now, I guess, so whatever. But the point I want to make is that this idea of copyright and other intellectual property protections maybe was taken a bit far. And so, for instance, the heirs to an artist continue to exploit the artist, and so you have all kinds of things coming out of, I don't know, Walt Disney or Jim Henson, like there are all these things where the heirs do things. It's often wonderful, and it is kind of like an extension of that artist's work, and that came out of intellectual property law. And then you have the people saying, no, intellectual property works. It's a horrible idea to have IP. Everything should be open, everything should be shared. But then what that did is, instead of supporting artists, it just sent all the money to the central computer server that routed things, right? It was total backfire, complete disaster. So now we live in this world of these two extremes where you kind of flit between these two crazy things. And in Silicon Valley, we're relentlessly trying to stamp out the last little bits of the other culture. So now it's like, well, if you want to sell your copyright thing, it's fine, but it's going to go through our streamer. and you're going to make less money than you used to. In fact,
yeah, I mean, we definitely experienced that as a community a long time ago, obviously, you know, as one of the first kids on Netflix. I mean, it was wild that we were signing these, but then now, you know, never have I ever done a sort of 360 body scan or something, which I think many people do. I just don't get into that much action, and many action pictures, but it's sort of already a thing. Like I remember back in the
wait, Variety said you're doing a martial arts movie.
oh, thanks, Variety. You know, I know a guy there, and I haven't put in some stuff because, you know, I love the Tao, the Wu, and so I'm
Okay.
hot for the subject.
You're
It's
telling
a
me
lovely guy at
what I read
Variety.
in that thing? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
no.
All right.
But so,
All right.
where does, can you talk a little bit about Taiwan?
Oh, Taiwan, yeah.
Yeah.
So, for some years, there's a small circle of people who've been trying to articulate what an alternate digital economy would look like in a digital culture. And I wrote a book called Who Owns the Future, outlining a sort of a middle ground where you don't have the kind of absolute intellectual property thing, but you have a sort of a soft thing, but it would be universal. And in fact, the very first design for a digital network goes back to a guy named Ted Nelson, who was always imagining it being this way. His parents were both in SAG, and he really wanted to support artists, and then it got blown up by other people, so it didn't happen. And that's a whole interesting long tale. But some of the other people include Glenn Weil, an economist I work with, and many others. And they're amazing. How many people know who Audrey Tang is?
Only from you.
Yeah, you know.
She seems like a fascinating figure. I sort of wanted to get there just to kind of end us on a bit of an uplift, an optimistic
Audrey,
something in all this bleakness.
So
An earthquake just happened right here in New York, so you know I want us to leave feeling happy.
I don't understand why people don't know about important things. Honestly, like the internet was supposed to make this impossible, where people would know important things, and it's not working. Okay, Audrey was until very recently the Minister of Information in the Taiwanese government. She's the highest ranking out-trans politician in history that we know of, unless you count, there might have been an Egyptian pharaoh that's like a whole controversial thing, but anyway, she's unique in that way. And she implemented and tested in the real world some of these ideas about an alternate way of doing the internet. And in Taiwan, there's measurably less polarization, measurably less misinformation. Like, it worked, it's incredible. So now, I won't say anything that's not in the media already, but keep your eye on the major effort to try to buy TikTok and improve it. And there's a chance we can make things better. I'm hoping. I don't know for sure. But anyway, the interesting thing about Audrey is that Audrey actually got in a position of influence and proved the internet can be better than we're used to. So all the people say, well, it's just inevitable, it'll make us hate each other, and we'll be stupider and stupider, and we'll get populist, horrible politicians, and that's all it's gonna be forever. No, we have the counterexample. Like, those people who tell me, oh, science fiction has to be dystopian or nobody will buy it. No, because Star Trek. So for people who tell me the internet has to suck, I say, Audrey, Taiwan, we have the counterexample. But we don't know about it because the internet makes us blind. Like, I just can't even believe it. Like, how can you not know about this? But, you know, there you are.
Well, certainly what's been revealed is that these are very expansive questions that are sort of, endless, genuinely. They're huge concepts that sort of encompass everything and nothing, and it does feel, I think, high stakes and high risk, and as somebody who usually enjoys those types of behaviors, I gotta say this one's pretty out there. But it's wonderful to know, that you're out there, sort of fighting the good fight and trying to sort of create an ethical world, somewhat within all this. So you think it's possible, and maybe we'll end on that. I think we're about out of time, right? How do you see a sort of, I guess you discussed this sort of middle path. Do you think that that's really viable from where we are now?
I mean, it's viable. I don't know what's the most likely outcome. It's a very scary moment, obviously. I'm nervous every day. I'm nervous about what's happening with our country, with the world. Everything in the big picture seems like it's teetering on the edge of just horrible near futures, right? But what I try to remember is in history, somehow people have pulled through a lot of really stupid times, and sometimes it's happened with catastrophes along the way, but not always. Sometimes we actually kind of get it together, and I hope we can do it this time without a lot of war or the other things we traditionally do.
Oh yeah, it reminds me, and maybe we should end on this meme I saw that said, why does all AI has to be screenwriters? No, none of the AI can pick plastic bottles out of the ocean. Is there a plan for that, Darren? Like some good news coming from this front?
It's an excellent question. Now, first of all, there are AIs taking plastic out of the ocean.
Okay, thank goodness.
And,
one less problem for us to worry about tonight.
However, they're underutilized and underfunded.
Bad.
So it's in between. There are one of the gigantic gaps, which is really annoying to me, is that all the people interested in AI and robots aren't revolutionizing the mining and resource extraction industries. Like that stuff, that's like the big piece of the puzzle that's under addressed. Like maybe certain people who are good at starting companies could work on that instead of dumb social media things. I don't know, just thinking.
Yeah.
And the potential is there. There are a lot of things. I think one of the problems is that everybody wants infinity instantly. Like, you don't want to just make a good investment. You want some meme stock or some stupid NFT or crypto thing that'll give you 10,000 return instantly, and you want some kind of high that this technology will change everything. It'll change everything. But that no technology does in any predictable way. Like, I mean, the way improvement happens is incrementally, always. And we have to somehow love progress as it is instead of this sort of cartoon version of instant everything that everybody thinks they deserve and should get, and I mean, that applies generally to life, it's not, and I'm sounding like a stoic, I guess, but there's just a lot of truth to it. And the worst thing about Silicon Valley right now is this insistence on absolute instant everything, that we're not going to invest in this thing the world needs because we can do a meme stock, we'll make lots of money, or something like that, Yeah. And you see that, in my opinion, really undermining a lot of people who would otherwise be intelligent technologists or investors.
Well, I think that, for me, the takeaway has been, or at least what I've, gleaned sort of as I started investigating, my this journey down this rabbit hole is really like educating ourselves on all of this information is a lot more helpful than sort of following, the echo chamber or whatever of our own socials to really understand. Because at the end of the day, like something that I was very struck with that you said when we were hanging out after some other panel about subjects like this, because these are popping up all around town now, it is, that people are forgetting that there's actually still people in control of these, tools at this moment or whatever they are. And so sort of the further we remove ourselves from that kind of conversation in a way, the more that, we're at risk of letting it just be this amorphous blob of terror that's washing upon us. And so I think, I guess I just thank you for your humanity in a way, being out there, and reminding me of that. So, I don't know. Well, we don't want to end on a sad note. Anybody got a hot tip, hot question, life hack?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what the Taiwan internet is like and why it's better?
You should read about it, and you can look it up, and if you look up articles by either me or Glenn Weil especially, there's some good description in English language about it. But what they do is they have hierarchies of committees who govern it, and the way they use algorithms is not to gather attention, but to avoid replication of statement, and they have proportional voting systems at a high granularity for managing issues about neighborhoods and whatnot. They have a lot of things that are actually, from the perspective of what we do here, like incredibly sophisticated, although they were exactly what we all thought should happen with the internet decades ago, but they're actually doing it. It's the only place. So I'm sorry to not go into more detail right now, but technically, 1 second, technically we're out of time, so that's the best I can give you right now.
Well, kids, it's been real, it's been fun. It's been really fun. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And those are the facts as we know them for today.
So
Darren, thanks so much.
Martial arts movie gonna
Yes, and please do catch me. And Hatchet Attached 3 coming soon to theaters near you. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for being here.